How have your diets been like changing?
I guess the biggest difference is there's a keto brick at the end of every night, which is 1,000 calories. And then what happened with that, and part of the reason why I don't think I've gained weight, is now the output is better.
I haven't had coffee in a bit. Maybe I'll have it once a week.
It feels like a good
coffee
weapon when you deprive yourself of it for a little bit.
It hits you different when you haven't had it in a while.
Are you guys still eating like fatty cuts of meat?
Hell yeah.
I've been eating a lot of fish lately. Canned mackerel out of the can, it tastes really good.
Winter months, I start to eat a bit more. Always happens as it starts to get warmer as I start to eat less food. Does that happen with you guys?
Seems like my taste buds change a little bit when it gets warmer out. When the sun's out, I tend to want like sweeter stuff. I want more fruit and stuff like that. Want more carbs, I guess. And then in the wintertime, seems like I care a little bit less about that. I was watching some like Olympic stuff the other day. They had like all these sprinters on and stuff. And Andy's like, oh, she's like, look at these girls. She's like, they're incredible. And I'm just trying to, I'm like,
Set up.
Yeah, I'm like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. And then she's like looking up their Instagrams and stuff. She's like, oh my God. She's like, look at this girl's ass.
Dangerous.
And I'm like, I'm not sure. Maybe because all the running, like it builds up their butt. I'm like just pretending I have no idea that I haven't scrolled through all of their Instagrams many times.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Oh, it builds the glutes. Would you look at that?
Way.
Like that hit my feed last week. Are we gonna start there?
Yeah, I think so.
Good. Not with what I said before.
No,
Okay.
just right there.
Right there. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, just unleash all.
There's
those.
one girl like at Lil Runner or something. Don't check her stuff out.
Nope.
No, don't look it
I'm
up.
not
You said
going to.
little LIL runner?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Bruh, why are you
I don't
doing
want
this?
to. Nope. Anyway,
Over here trying to tell people to clean up their feeds.
It's interesting. Like there was one girl, she won, I think she won like 400 meter. And like all these girls were like jacked. And this girl was not jacked at all. She just was like athletic looking. She looked great, but she was younger and she was just like fit. And I was like, how does she generate enough force to kick the shit out of all the other runners? Because I mean, it does take a lot of power and strength.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting. But the girl that won the mile, she was ripped and she was jacked. And when she got her gold medal, you know what they handed over to her? Her 1-year-old baby.
oh,
And I was like, damn. I was like, she pops out a baby and then comes to this, it was like world championships or whatever, and she won.
damn.
Beast. Is
I
he
know.
going to find out who she is?
That was amazing. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe you could look up the
Yeah, I don't
Olympic world championships or whatever.
I'll have to check that out.
I saw that
that's sick.
Noah Lyles, everyone made a big deal he lost, but he lost in the 60 meter. He doesn't normally run 60 meter.
I find it great how, you're talking really positively about these women's efforts and what they've been able to do. And it's amazing.
I'm not sliding into that Coach Greg domain.
Greg, if y'all haven't seen that video, Greg is under some heat because he's talking about the bikini at the Arnold Pro Show, bikini category, and he was just like smash all of them.
Is that on his Instagram?
I don't know where it is.
Oh,
I saw it
okay.
on Reddit.
I think it's important as a man that you just never really let women know how disgusting you really are. You know, just maybe a little bit. Maybe you can't help yourself and you hint at it here and there, but just never tell them all the way.
I mean, it's
Not good for you. Not a good look for any of us.
they might be hot, but let's just talk about how physically gifted they are. You know what I mean? Like, wow, look at her glute ham tie-in.
Yeah, right.
I bet you she can do like 225 for sets of 8 on the stiff leg deadlift.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's complimentary of
Double body weight.
We know what we're talking about. But it's true. She can probably do 225 for 8.
There's no reason to think about it any further than that.
Exactly. And if you do, you're an animal. And there's no reason you should be on the internet talking about any of this stuff.
Gross.
Leave the sport. Leave the sport.
Speaking of stuff that's gross, what's going on with this sourdough bread?
Oh man, heartache.
Everyone's making sourdough bread to try to be fit. I think that was a thing during COVID too.
Yeah, I remember you
Let's
said
make
that.
some sourdough.
I think it's just something to do. And by the way, Melvin's gonna bring me a sourdough starter the next time he comes in.
Oh, that's great.
There we go.
This
Authentic sounds.
I was just going to say real quick, this guy, people should check out his Instagram. What's his Instagram, Andrew? Can you,
Oh man, that's so far.
maybe Nsima can see it or something. I
You
don't know.
think I can see that shit?
I don't know.
I'll
It's
figure it
superhuman
out.
vision.
Anyway, this guy's Instagram is awesome. He just tests his blood sugar with all kinds of different foods. And just to give people a little bit of brief information, like don't think that just because something spikes your blood sugar that it makes you fat. That's like the worst thing that people could think. It's not true. It's just some foods tend to spike your blood sugar. And then also you can't really just say like this food spikes my blood sugar because Nsima or something like that could have eaten something earlier in the day that makes it have a different glycemic index and so forth. So don't get too startled about it. It's just information, but it is interesting.
Is that hat from the original Terry Blacks?
Yeah, my brother picked it up for me. He went to Texas.
Oh.
Yeah, the barbecue.
But not the duplicate Terry Blacks or whatever the story was behind that. You guys remember?
I don't know.
Yeah, somebody went rogue and started their own like version of it or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Terry Black's 2.0.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Sourdough bread to see what it does to my blood sugar. So apparently a lot of the sourdough breads that you may find in a supermarket are not actually authentic simply because they use commercial yeast to leaven the bread. Authentic sourdough breads that are usually made at a bakery don't use that yeast. Instead, they use fermented flour and water. And during that fermentation process, some of the starches are eaten by the bacteria, giving this authentic sourdough bread a better glycemic index, and therefore it should be easier on my blood sugar. I'm really curious to see if this is true or not. Let's see what this one does to my blood sugar. All right, it's been a couple of hours since I've had the sourdough. Before we look at the results, let's compare this to the 75 grams of white bread. Here, the blood sugar spike went up by 42 milligrams. Now, this is 75 grams of the fake sourdough bread. This also went up by 42 milligrams. And now let's look at today's results with the authentic sourdough bread. And this is kind of disappointing. This one went up by 41 milligrams, which is pretty much the same as the others. So unfortunately for me, this authentic sourdough bread did not meet up to all the hype. That's why it's so important to monitor your blood sugar if you are concerned. Remember that individual results will vary. Stay tuned for more.
That's pretty funny. All you people eating that sourdough just getting fatter and fatter by the second.
That's so sad. It's like you're like, oh, this is so much better. And it's like, it probably is maybe better nutritionally. Maybe it has better macros. I don't know.
Could be better for other reasons too. I mean, maybe if it is like actually sour and maybe it is feeding your gut bacteria, maybe it's helping with digestion of other foods or something
it's
like that.
supposed to. And then also like what he was talking about, like I forgot what, oh man, it lost my thought, but it was in regards to the yeast, like
Yeah, fermented flour and water.
yeah, the ones that like they're not even supposed to have any, or they're not like there's a lot of bullshit on the market. And like when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, let me just find one that I like. And then I went and looked at the label and I'm like, oh, these are all fake. Like this is just bread that happens to taste like sourdough bread. But Sacramento Bakery, which you can get at Costco, makes one that's like yeast free and it's like legit. It's really, really good. But as we've seen, like it's you're just eating bread.
I would say that bread is like fair game, especially for people that want to eat some carbohydrates. I mean, I don't see a big problem with it. I think you might want to take into account like what are you eating with the bread? That's where we might get into some trouble. That's where you might have like, you know, if you're having a bun and you're having a cheeseburger and, you know, now you're having something that's, I don't know, 800 calories or something like that, then, and you're trying to be on a diet and you're trying to lose weight, it might make it difficult. But if you're having like a couple pieces of bread, I mean, that's been as old as I could remember in the bodybuilding magazines, you know, even in the 80s, 90s, they would talk about these bodybuilders having breakfast. They would have oatmeal, which is bullshit, according to Paul Saladino. They'd have oatmeal. A lot of times they would have some egg whites. Maybe they'd have a couple full eggs, and they would have toast. Yeah, I mean, it's very routine, and I don't think there's anything wrong with bread. However, if you're someone that has struggled with your diet in the past, and you know, is bread going to lead you down a dark path later on that day because you're already like, well, I already ate this, and you don't really have a lot of rules or laws with your diet, then that could lead you down a slippery slope.
Quantity. That's the big thing to think about there. Quantity. But, you know, how have your diets been like changing? What have you been doing recently? Because we haven't talked about that in a bit, and I think we're all doing a few things.
Well, so for me, I, you know, have been working on this journey for kind of a long time of like leaning out, and I did get stuck around a 240-ish pound weight for a long time, 240, 245. Even when I ran the Boston Marathon, fueled up for the race, I was about 240, which was just way too heavy to try to lug around.
Question real
for
quick,
that far.
When you say leaning out, like you don't just mean losing body fat, right? Are you also trying to lose some muscle?
I'm mainly just trying to lose body fat.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm mainly trying to lose body fat. And so anyway, I sort of got to the end of that road for me. Maybe somebody else could get a lot leaner, but for me, it's like I just have reduced, and just got to a point where my appetite started to get dysregulated. I started being a little bit too hungry. And I was like, you know what? Let me just give it a couple days and let me just eat a little bit more food. And that didn't work. And I'm like, let me give it a little bit more time than that. So right now I'm on like, I don't know, maybe about the third week or so of just eating more. And my body weight hasn't really changed a lot.
What's that now?
I was 225 this morning.
Okay.
So that's interesting, right? Because I am eating more and in my opinion, I should probably be up over 230 already because I've been eating. But the choices have been mainly protein choices, have been trying to keep the decisions still within range of what I normally do. I guess the biggest difference is there's a keto brick at the end of every night, which is 1,000 calories.
Every night?
Every night.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Sometimes 2 keto bricks. Depends on the night. Depends on how crazy I want to get. But I think it's important for people to, and this is like dangerous for some people that, again, maybe have really struggled with their diet. But I think it's important for some people just to let go of the rules a little bit, let go of the restrictions. You still probably want some restrictions because then, you're going to gain like 10 pounds or something real quick. But for me, I'm like, let me give myself some calories for a little while. And then what happened with that, and part of the reason why I don't think I've gained weight, is now the output is better. Now I'm like not just like running super slow. I'm starting to work on running a little faster. I'm doing sprints. I'm doing jumps. I'm more excited to train. And the training sessions are like maybe a little shorter, but it feels awesome.
Yeah. Do you do any sort of like time restriction or fasting of any type anymore?
At the moment, the only time restriction that I might have is like through the middle of the day. And that would be it.
So like you eat in the morning, middle of the day, you don't eat much, and then you eat a meal in the evening. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's almost every day. I would say like maybe once or twice a week, I just wake up and just have a protein shake with my coffee. And I also switched to decaf. That's something new. I know that you, I think, have gotten rid of caffeine as well, right?
Yeah. I haven't had actually, after talking to Dom, I kind of like loosened the reins. I haven't had coffee in a bit, but before he was here, I really wasn't drinking coffee at all. I did that for like maybe a month or a month and a half. But now maybe I'll have it once a week, depending on like if I feel like I didn't sleep much last night or for some reason, and I have a podcast.
Feels like a good weapon when you haven't, when you deprive yourself of it for a little bit.
It hits you different when you haven't had it in a while. Whereas if you're chronically drinking it, like you get into the habit of needing it to be able to perform, to do what you got to do. So that has actually been really nice. Like I can get by all day with just some tea, but decaf, I can actually feel decaf coffee. It probably is placebo because decaf has a minimal amount of caffeine, but that taste, dog, of like the Phil's, I think it's called Lucas's Unplugged. Whenever I have that, it's so good. It's like, I want a nut right there. It's crazy. But
I made a decaf, espresso this morning by accident. I just hit the wrong button. I just wasn't paying attention.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Decaf espresso.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, what does that mean? I guess my coffee maker, it makes Americanos basically, which is
you have the same shit, right? Jura?
Similar, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is basically it's just espresso and water. So
Okay.
an Americano is the same thing. It's just extra water. But I hit the button and I'm like, why did I just make a non-caffeinated espresso? It kind of really defeats, you're already defeating the purpose of coffee, but it gets even worse when you get into something like espresso. It's even funnier.
Join the club, Andrew?
What do you mean?
The decaffeinated club?
I'm kind like, I honestly am kind of already there.
Hey!
Because of your soda thing, right?
Yeah. So again,
shit.
removing artificial sweeteners, I just have less stuff. And one of those things was like Monsters and whatnot. But even without that, so now when I wake up, before when I would wake up, I would just jump right into caffeine. And now that I'm not having like artificial sweeteners, I'm waking up and just having some electrolytes. And then I just kind of go about my day. So like even today, I had electrolytes, went to jiu-jitsu, and I didn't have any caffeine until I got back when I had it with some protein and coffee for breakfast. But that's like all I'm going to have for the rest of the day. Now, if I didn't do that, I would have some green tea. Like I've been diving into that because I've been loving like an excuse to put honey on everything. And that's just one of those many things that I can use it for. But yeah, so I've I've cut out, I would say, more than half of my caffeine consumption over the past, I don't know, like 6 months or so.
How much do you think you were having before when you were having like the diet sodas and stuff? Like how much do you think it was?
Well, it was right within waking up about 100 milligrams or 120 milligrams. And then again with breakfast, so like 2 shots of espresso. So I'm not sure what that is. And then I'd get here and I'd grab a Monster. So, and that was like a daily thing.
That's like 350.
Yeah.
It's bad when you're not thinking about it. Like I know you've been mindful of it for the last couple of years, but it's really some bad news when you're just like, it's just in your hand and you're like, oh my God, I'm drinking it again.
And that was one of those things where I would get, I'd get to the gym and I would just like, passing by the break room. It's like, yeah, I got to stop here to grab, a Monster and then head back and start working on stuff. And it was just, one, it was routine, but also I made the excuse of, well, caffeine makes me work better, so I need this because I need to perform better.
And the thing is like because you drink it so much, it actually does help you work better because you need it.
Yes, absolutely. The problem is like that hamster wheel. Like you never catch up. You never catch up to the energy, right? Because you're tired now. Okay, I need to take this because I need energy. But then you get up here and you quickly run back to the bottom. You're like, shit, I need another one. You just keep going. And now that I've slowed down, it's like I'm kind of just like mellowed out. Like again, like when I cut out caffeine completely, I was always pretty low and I would just hang out here versus with caffeine, it would skyrocket and then it would plummet. Right now, I'm kind of like, okay, a little bump from caffeine and I'm just like hanging out here. And the cool thing is I actually have more sustained energy throughout the rest of the day. Cause that was my biggest thing is when we would be done podcasting, I'd fall asleep on the way home. Like I would just be like dozing off behind the wheel. And that's like the worst thing you could ever do. That's worse than like that causes more accidents and deaths than drunk driving.
Yeah.
So that was really bad. Now I'm not saying I'm like fucking jumping around everywhere, but I'm awake, you know? And so like, that was like one of the reasons why I dove into all of this diet stuff recently was because I want to maintain energy throughout the day. And I think cutting out a majority of my at least half of my caffeine is a big reason for that.
Yeah.
I think honey is super underrated. Like as a sweetener, honey. It's like
it's so good.
It's also so easy to even sugar. Like I know like some of the recommendations sometimes people are probably like, what the fuck? These guys recommend like everything and then you're on a diet where you're sort of including fat and carbs and all kinds of stuff. But if you can use some sugar responsibly, it's not a bad thing. Like if you're traveling and you don't like sweet and low and some of those other weird sweeteners, you don't want to put weird shit in your coffee, just a little bit of sugar goes a long way. Phil's Coffee, actually, I think the only sweetener, maybe they'll use other sweeteners if you ask them, but I think they only use honey.
They have honey as an option when you get it on DoorDash. What? They have something else too, but like,
oh my gosh, I'm going there.
Yeah, they use honey
soon.
in their coffee. And then you kind of think about it like, well, tea is usually sweetened with honey. So why couldn't you sweeten coffee with it? I think we just kind of, I don't know, just forget about it. And then people are so concerned about the carbs, but a couple grams of carbs here and there is not going to really, shouldn't throw your diet off. If your exercise and stuff is intact, it should just be a little bit of extra energy calories.
Yeah, it was super concerning when I stopped and thought about how every single thing that I consumed contained artificial sweeteners. From the second I woke up to the first thing I drank, the first thing I ate, everything I drank, everything I consumed had artificial sweeteners in it. And I'm not saying they're good or bad. I was just thinking like, I don't know, man, too much of anything's supposed to be bad, right? Like that's kind of what we say.
Yeah.
And I know the studies, everything says, oh no, like artificial sweeteners are totally fine. We're not a petri dish. And so we're okay. You know, that's what Lane Norton will say. And he's right? Because everything proves it. But maybe that's part of why I have more energy now, right? Maybe that's another part of it. Maybe that's another part of why like my stomach doesn't hurt when I drink milk. Yeah. I don't know if we'll ever be able to like make that correlation or whatever, but for some reason, the more natural approach I have to my diet, the better I feel.
Yeah, Ian Danny, he thinks it's that's why like with his EAAs and stuff like that, that's why he doesn't use artificial sweeteners. He thinks it's kind of a gut bomb. He thinks it's like just negative towards your like gut health. And so therefore he doesn't mess with it. Joel Green is another one that doesn't really like artificial stuff. Joel's big on like fiber and fruits and he's got a new book out. People should check it out. But Joel was amazing and I can't wait to have him back on the show again. But I think to your point about just like energy, I think that, and we've talked about this on the show before, but we have this thought that like if we're going to go do something, that it's going to like make us more tired. It's going to like cost us energy. And it's weird because the feeling is quite opposite. The feeling, I don't know exactly what happens. I don't know what happens scientifically. But when you go and run, or you go and do jujitsu, or you go and lift some weights, you feel like you feel electrical. You feel like that you're producing energy, that you're in the middle of making energy. And I think that's exactly what's happening. But for some reason, when you're tired and when you're cold and you're warm under your blankets and stuff, the last thing you want to do is like go and start to do some of these things, because this thing that you're doing at the moment is super comfortable. But the more that you lay there, and the more that you stay in a dark room, and the more that your mood and things like that, it's not going to be improved. Like, it's really rare for your mood to be improved by just laying down and doing nothing, unless you're stressed and unless you're intentionally maybe like meditating or something. But this idea that we always need food for energy, or we need this or we need that for energy. A lot of times, if you just go and do something, it seems to make energy. It feels that way.
You know, every quarter I've been, so like it was a few days ago when Sam was over at the Arnold Amateur, and my girl just got her IFBB Pro card.
Congrats.
So congratulations, Sam.
That's unbelievable.
That's fucking wild. Yeah. She's an IFBB Pro, and she can hold that over my head. If we go anywhere and someone's like, one of us is an IFBB Pro, who is it? And it's this little white girl next to me. It's like, it's kind of funny.
But how, like, sorry, I don't mean to derail anything, but like,
you're good.
Is that a common thing to where, like, let's look in the future, let's just play this all out.
Yeah.
You guys are married, you have kids.
Yeah.
Like, your kid can look up and be like, yeah, both my parents have their pro card. That's got to be really rare, right?
Probably. Yeah.
That's fucking cool, dude. Congrats.
Yeah, congrats, Sam. You fucking killed it. But I did kind of a 48-hour fast when she was gone. I do that, like, again, I do that once a quarter. I aim
because your heart was broken because she wasn't around.
You didn't have anybody to feed you.
What are those?
I was trying to make it romantic.
You didn't leave any Lunchables. I didn't know what to do.
Dog, she actually made me a bunch of meat before she left. But nah, because
that's great. Put this in the microwave.
Nah, because like once a quarter, I'll usually do that because like apparently there are some benefits to like a prolonged fast. I don't do it often, but I decided, okay, this is a good time. It's a lull week. But I got some jujitsu in, I got some training in, I got some swimming in. Periodically, I had some electrolytes. I did have like some fruit here and there, but not much. It was pretty sporadic. But I was really surprised. Every time I do that, I'm surprised, like, wow, okay. After you get past like the first 18 hours, right? You wake up the next day. It's kind of like you're then just like zoned in, right? When I went to jujitsu, I could feel a little cramping happening here and there. So I drank more electrolytes, but it was fine. I got through the whole session feeling good. I didn't get gassed or anything. And it's like you feel, I don't know, refreshed in a sense. It's weird. Like, it's all the inflammation that I had, any type of like just kind of weird spots I had just kind of dissipated. And it's I think it's a fun thing to try once a quarter, not something you do all the time or every single week, but I think it's useful.
And not something you would use to like, oh, I got to lose 3 pounds.
No, but it did like lean me out quite a bit.
Because you're jacked.
Because I was, but
it's fun
think about
too,
this.
in a way.
Yeah.
It's like rewarding in a way.
Exactly. But think about this. You're not having many calories, but you're also doing activity. Because I still got some lifts in. I still got 2 sessions of jiu-jitsu in. So it's like, that's why I did look a lot leaner. And I started eating again, and I put a little bit of body fat on, but like I'm actually leaner than when I started. So that wasn't the intention, though, wasn't to cut.
But, for people that do want to utilize some fasting for leaning out, I think it's a great tool. Like, you just see all this pushback, and you're hearing a lot of people not doing it at the moment. It's probably because a lot of us did it for a while, and then maybe it ran its course, and now we're just doing something slightly different. But, I mentioned to you earlier that I'm not fasting, but like maybe as of like 3 months ago, I was still utilizing some regular fast here and there. I
do still use it though.
Yeah, I'll still do it occasionally. I also think that like if somebody really did want to like lean out a bunch, I think you could just have a day where you just don't eat. Every Saturday or every Friday, you pick a day and you fast that day, and it's a reduction in the overall amount of food that you ate. It will help. I know some people use that strategy and it can be super effective.
But get back to your regularly scheduled programming the next day.
Of course, yeah.
Don't go the next day and eat extra because you didn't eat the day before. You're going to offset.
Yeah. But that's the thing with fasting. You just have to pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah.
If you're trying to utilize it to get leaner.
So that's perfect. That's what I was going to ask. So like let's say it's that Friday, does that person then, I'm fasting, I'm not going to go work out, I'm not going to do my walks like I normally do on my lunch break or whatever. Like, do they change anything other than not consuming food?
I would say if it's just for a day, I think you're fine. I think you can do whatever you want. Start to get in like 2 days or 5 days, you might want to consider the intensity or how long you're going to go do something. Wouldn't be a good time to like bust out a 20-mile run or something like that, you know? So maybe a little caution.
Yeah.
But I think it is a cool idea. I think it's what somebody could try, because I think one of the things that trips people out, and it tripped me out when I started fasting like 2017, was the idea of being able to perform without having food in your system from eating right before your workout. But I think one of the cool things that you'll learn is like, wow, you can still have a good workout if you didn't eat that morning or you didn't eat right before your workout. Because again, those 2 days where I wasn't eating and I was still getting in workouts, or I was still going to jujitsu, I was like, I still feel pretty damn good. I'm not fucking destroyed. I'm not feeling like death. I can still roll even though I haven't eaten in a day, right? It's just, I think your tolerance for that increases. And it's you know, I think there is
we
a
have
power.
Energy on our body.
We do. And your body will use it.
Yeah.
You know?
Can you guys tell me if this is like a good or bad thing? But I agree. I still have a lot of energy on my body. You know, I'm somewhere around 12 to 15% body fat, which I'm super happy about.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I've been able to maintain this for a long time. But throughout the day, if I don't eat like my second meal, which is what I've kind of been implementing, I can actually feel myself get skinnier. And what I mean is so right now my ring fits me. And so I know like, okay, I'm still
plump.
I'm still fed off of what I ate for breakfast. If I don't eat within the next 4 hours or whatever, I could just go like this and my ring falls right off of me. Throughout the day, this sounds like such a mean thing or like just shitty thing to say, because I know a lot of people struggle with weight loss. If I don't eat, I can literally feel myself getting thinner. Does that mean
It's just water, baby?
Yeah. So like
glycogen.
What is that? And like, is that good or bad?
It's glycogen. like if you were to have a super carby meal, right, you'll legit like a few hours later, your ring will be a little bit more snug. And if you were to like move a little bit, you'd pump up super easily. But if you weren't to have carbs for like the whole day, by the time you get to the end of the day, like if you were having water and electrolytes and stuff, you'd probably be pretty lean. Or your ring would fall off your finger because of lack of like glycogen. That's literally all it is. It's just water.
Okay.
It's not like body fat.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to preface that by saying like, look, I still have tons of energy, but like what's going on here where it's like I can feel and see and have proof that like, yeah, I'm a little bit skinnier than I was this morning. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think when you're an athlete and you're moving around quite a bit, it's probably fairly common, especially if you're eating carbohydrates, to have maybe an extra. It depends on your body weight. It's a percentage thing, but for me personally, it'd be like 3 to 5, probably 6 to 7 pounds, probably somewhere in that range. If I'm eating carbohydrates, if I'm not eating carbohydrates, that's why when I said I ran the Boston Marathon, weighed about 240, and I think I said fueled. That just means that like I ate intentionally, knowing that I'm going to go this distance.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be without that fuel while I was running, so. I ate my fats, you know, in advance. I ate my carbs in advance and even like during and stuff like that. And so I think one of the problems that people get themselves into, though, is that people can get really bloated. If you remember my powerlifting days, that was sort of like an intentional bloat. Like let's fucking max everything out as much as we can. And that bloat and that stiffness was actually like a good thing when I went to bench press or when I went to get ready for a squat, that pressure that I was able to build up.
Did you really need 3 chins for that though?
No, I didn't need the third or the fourth or the fifth chin. No,
Okay.
I didn't need any of that.
All right.
But what some people might notice when you're like in Andrew's position where you're feeling like you're kind of withering away.
Yes.
You tend to feel like a little colder.
You took the words right. I was going to say, I get cold.
Yeah. And sometimes your blood pressure might be, because it depends on the person, but your blood pressure might be low. As the reverse of that, is that you run hotter. You're kind of always sweaty. But what I was going to say is like a lot of people that have not really looked into their diet are just walking around with probably a lot of men. Again, it's a percentage thing, but I'm just going to throw out a number like 8 to 12 pounds, I would say. Probably just walking around with an extra 8 to 12 pounds of just like fluff on them. And that's kind of almost before you even get into like being on a really low carb diet. Like if you just kind of clean your diet up, you get rid of a little bit of carbohydrates, a lot of people would lose probably 8 to 10 pounds. And then they would probably be able to lose another 4 or 5 pounds, which would be kind of water weight if they went really low carb. And that would just be temporary. The second you eat the carbs back, you'll gain some of that water weight back. But,
yeah, I was gonna ask because I will get really, really cold, and so I'm like, dude, am I like getting frail and like gonna like if the wind blows, am I done for? You know, like
you'll feel cold as fuck when you're real hungry like that.
Yeah, and then I'm like, is like getting cold like this, right? Because like I'll be just like I am now, but as I get hungry, I'll just start shaking and shit. And so I'm like, does that mean I'm going to get sick? Like it just, I don't know. It's just stuff I'm just trying to dive a little bit deeper and stop ignoring like, oh, I'm fine.
Well, getting cold will help you to like liberate. It should help you to liberate fat. I do think that we're all a little bit different, so that some people, maybe their system isn't as efficient. And so maybe they don't get to do that. Maybe their body like does something slightly different, but the sun, the cold, these are things that can help with energy production. So it's not like you can just like breathe the air and just get cold and just get sunlight without food. That would be, that would not be a good idea. But when you are talking about like really short-term fast, or you're talking about energy production in the short term, I think there's things that we can do in a day to kind of manipulate how the body uses energy, and the body will use energy more efficiently if you inject some carnitine, if you go outside and go for a walk, if you get some sunlight, usually just your body being in motion. We say motion is the lotion. Like a lot of times that will even kick off your body just dealing with its energy system a lot better.
Yeah. For the month of April, you're going to receive 25% off all Vivo Barefoot shoes. And Nsima, can you tell us why these shoes are so great?
For years on this podcast, we've been talking about the benefit of barefoot shoes. And these are the shoes I used to use back in like 2017, 2018. My old Metcons. They are flat, but they're not very wide, and they're very stiff and they don't move. That's why we've been partnering with and we've been using Vivo Barefoot shoes. These are the Modus Strength shoe, because not only are they wide, I have wide ass feet, and so do we here on the podcast, especially as our feet have gotten stronger, but they're flexible. So when you're doing certain movements, like let's say you're doing jumping, or you're doing split squats, or you're doing movements where your toes need to flex and move, your feet are able to do that and perform in this shoe, allowing them to get stronger over time. And obviously, they're flexible. So your foot's allowed to be a foot. And when you're doing all types of exercise, your feet will get stronger, improving your ability to move. Andrew, how can they get their hands on these?
Yes, and for the month of April, you're going to receive 25% off all of your Vivo Barefoot shoes. That is a limited time deal for the month of April only. So if you've been waiting for the perfect time to buy your Vivo Barefoot shoes, now is that time. Head over to vivobarefoot.com/powerproject, enter the code for April, and receive 25% off your entire order. Link is in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Are you guys still eating like fatty cuts of meat?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's never stopped, and that'll never stop. I've been varying the meats up quite a bit though, like getting some stuff from Good Life, got some salmon in there, ribeyes, different types of cuts of steak, got some picanha in there too. And because again, this isn't original to me, but my girl's been cooking some, right? So been stuffing peppers and fucking using the shit on potatoes. She's been, because I've been talking to her about us getting more vegetables and stuff, and here and there I would actually cook some vegetables, but I wasn't as diligent with it. I get lazy with it, and I just drink it at some point. But like she's been like adding in Brussels sprouts and mushrooms and all this shit into the food, and it's been great. Like again, I have no problems digesting any of it. Some people choose to go carnivore because they do have issues digesting some of this food, but I don't. And I just see that as being beneficial for my gut. The more diverse food I can handle without it causing any type of wreckage, the better off I'll be. So that stuff has just been pretty beneficial, pretty good. And it tastes great.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure that side of it out still, the vegetables, because if I have Brussels sprouts, man, dude, like the whole neighborhood smells. Like I can't stop farting.
Let me ask you, like, how much do you cook it? When you eat it, is it still hard?
So then that's the other thing is maybe I'm not cooking it right. So I'm just getting the stuff that's like in the bag and you steam it and then you like throw butter all over it and stuff. Like that's pretty much it. I haven't like done anything outside of like super basic cooking.
Because if you try cooking it for a while and by the time you end up eating it and chewing it and it's actually kind of soft, that could help it digest better. Because if you're eating Brussels sprouts and it's crunchy.
Yeah, no, it's never been crunchy.
Never been crunchy? Okay.
But I mean, I'm also not cooking it for very long either. But that sort of thing, I am trying to implement more vegetables. Like literally, like one plate of vegetables a day is 100% more than what I was eating. So I have a lot of improvement to make at a super low barrier of entry. But I have been leaning more towards the lean cuts and even having egg whites and stuff. And this just comes, you know, we were just talking about this recently about like influencers and getting our information from multiple sources and who to trust. But we had the vegan Simon Hill, and then Stan Efferding, you know, back to back, both of them talking about like, like it might be a good idea to not like have such a high cholesterol. And then Sean Baker, same thing, you know, like he was saying stuff like, okay, if you have high cholesterol, I'm not going to just be blind to it and say, no, keep eating fattier cuts of meat. And I happen to have higher cholesterol, and my dad had, you know, triple heart bypass surgery because he had high cholesterol. And then with the Dolce diet, you know, same thing. He's like, yeah, start having some turkey, start having some egg whites. And so that's what I've been doing. And I'm finding
but I get it.
Turkey, especially with the turkey. But man, there's some breakfast turkey sausage that's really, really good.
Oh yeah, that shit.
That is
turkey sausage.
And turkey bacon and stuff.
Turkey bacon, turkey pepperoni, which is like very processed, so it's different.
Your turkey that you're eating, your ground turkey, is it like 99%?
So I was
because that's a mistake.
I was tinkering with the idea, right?
It's too much. It's too lean.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I you know, you're in the aisle, you're looking. It's like every layer that you go down or up, whichever, it's like, you know, 97, you know, 98, 99. I'm like, no, I'm going to go with the 97. Like I know this is going to be difficult already. So not difficult, but like it's going to be a change. So let me just enjoy turkey as much as possible. But that turkey sausage is really good. So mixing that in with my egg whites and 2 eggs as opposed to 10 is way better for breakfast for me right now. And it's been, you know, again, it's a change and I've been feeling pretty good, but I am feeling hungrier when I have the leaner stuff. We all understand that.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's one of the things that I need to get used to.
The 96% lean ground beef from Piedmontese, it's like 3.5 grams of fat per serving. And there's 4 like per brick. So it's like, I don't know, 13 or 14 grams of fat or whatever. That's pretty modest considering that each block has like 100 grams of protein in it, I think like that, something like that. So that's just as lean as your turkey and it's easier to eat. You could also take that lean turkey and just mix it with like an 85% lean ground beef. And now you're like somewhere in the middle, right? Like now you have like a 90% lean, whatever the hell, turkey ground beef thingy. And then add vegetables in. Like what vegetables do you like? Do you have some vegetables that you...
Man, yeah.
Like, what'd you grow up eating that has like maybe some vegetables in it?
Got some corn in that bitch.
I would say like, I mean,
is corn okay?
Yeah, any vegetable, corn, peppers, onions.
Okay, yeah. So that's my thing is I really like peppers. I do like that. I will kind of get like a weird heartburn feeling, but it's been a while since I've had a lot of them because like
what kind of peppers? Like bell peppers or is it like spicy shit?
Yeah, not. I don't really like getting too deep into the spicy stuff.
Okay.
Just regular bell peppers, nothing like spicy, but I would find myself later that day like burping them up, like just like, you know, when you have onions and you're just like, you know, hours later, like I still have like onions, and I would have the same thing with bell peppers and that sort of thing.
I think you like, especially like
you used to eat them raw though, right?
No, like cooked, kind of like fajitas. I think that's how they like that. Yeah, that's how I would eat them.
It's the same shit. You probably already were, so maybe this is a moot point, but I would say again, cook them more. Because again, I've noticed like some people when they cook things like onions, or when they like, because some people like tag me in their stuffed bell peppers, their bell peppers still look like it's pretty hard. Like when we put those bell peppers into the air fryer, that bell pepper's in there for 25 minutes. When it comes out, it's soft.
Okay.
The pepper is not, it's not hard it's not crunchy, it's soft.
Yeah.
And the meat's like, the oils have like kind of melted into the pepper and shit. So that makes it super easy to digest.
Yeah, like if you were to take a bite of like, say like a potato, I don't know if you guys ever tried this before. You ever try to eat a raw potato, just take a bite of it? They're gnarly. I mean, it tastes like you're eating like dirt. It's crazy. But once you cook it, I mean, the flavor changes, like everything about it changes. It's way easier to eat. And then it's also way easier to digest. And you'll find the same thing with almost all vegetables.
Yeah. And now that you mentioned it, I remember at the old spot, like I would eat like a raw, just like an apple.
Yeah.
And people thought I was like psycho for
An
it.
apple? Wait.
I would eat, just grab a bell pepper, just wash it off and just like,
I love
because of the
that way
crunch.
too.
And I did enjoy it, but I mean,
They're tasty.
it was pretty good, but I would still like burp, and it's like, oh, there it comes up again. Yeah. So that I mean, I'm having asparagus, which has been pretty cool.
Never. Oh God, asparagus.
I don't really like the green stuff that much. Like I don't like
Just like
broccoli
greens in
that
general.
much. I
I
don't
think-
like asparagus. I don't like Brussels sprouts. Like I could eat them. I ate some broccoli last night, but my wife made like a teriyaki beef thing, so it was fucking awesome.
Brussels sprouts can be great. Like it just depends on how you cook them. Put some bacon on that bitch.
So with both of those, it's what they come accompanied with for me. So like asparagus, comes with hella salt and some oils or something, and then with Brussels sprouts, it's like I'm having like butter soup with with some Brussels sprouts in it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I wanted to say that we were talking about coffee earlier, and what I've been doing with my decaf coffee is if I want to, it's kind of funny because I could just get regular coffee, but my wife and I both have decaf going. And so if I want to spike the coffee, I'll actually use Dom's keto spike and I'll throw the coffee thing in there. It's because it has a instant coffee in there. And then I'm also getting some ketones. So that's really good. And then Bubs also, those guys actually make a instant, they have an instant coffee mix that has a little bit of MCT oil powder in it. So sometimes I'll use that. Sometimes I'll use half. Sometimes I'll use the full thing. Just kind of depends on, what result I'm looking for. But you can get a little zip or a little zing out of that stuff.
yeah, I've been having Bub's MCT oil powder every day. Like that's what I put in my coffee. But even the coffee's
creamer.
changed because again, not having artificial sweeteners, so I'm sweetening it with honey, and then I'm having steak shake, and then I'm throwing extra Bubs, in there, and I'm using just regular whole milk. I used to have cashew milk.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm cleaning up my diet and cleaning everything up. And I'm like, cashew milk's fine. It's like, dude, like you can't milk a cashew, but it would just come accompanied with additional ingredients that just like doesn't make sense why this is in my diet. So just trying to get single ingredient things. And it's like, well, hey, let me try some milk, and it's been, coffee and milk is really good.
It is.
I don't know if you guys have ever had it.
Oh yeah, I have.
You live in this world where it's like, no, almond milk because of the low calories and unsweetened this, unsweetened that. And then you sweeten it back up with sucralose, but then you have milk. Wow, this is really good.
Yeah, well, it adds a little sweetness to it as well.
Yeah.
So it's delicious. I've been eating a lot of fish lately, probably since we had David Herrera on the show. That's been a big influence on me, and I just started having fish pretty much ever since he was here. And so I'm really trying to go after the fish that have quite a bit of DHA in them, and also trying to, there's simple searches you can do with like Google. You can just look shit up occasionally, and I just kind of got a little bit more fascinated about vitamin D. And I'm like, I take these like vitamin D capsules, but like maybe this isn't maybe it's the best route. Like let me look into this more. And then I'm like, okay, well, what foods have vitamin D? What foods have vitamin A? What foods have zinc? What foods have copper? And most of the time, the foods that have some of those vitamins are foods that a lot of times a lot of people don't like liver, mackerel, salmon, oysters, all these kinds of things. But I've been including all that. It's actually really easy. Mackerel, I just really never been exposed to it before, maybe until the last couple of years, but canned mackerel is fucking awesome.
It's good.
It's going to sound gross, but it has like the skin on it, and it's just in water. And out of the can, it tastes really good, which I was kind of, I like fish, I got to kind of preface it with that. And I do understand why people don't like fish. I get it. Like the texture can be weird and stuff like that.
Just don't be a baby. Stop being a bitch.
Mackerel, if I throw a little salt on there, it's It's fucking awesome. It's incredible.
I'm joking. You're not being a bitch if you don't like fish. It's fair.
But it's so icky.
Yeah. One hack I'll say, and this is again for the people that are cool with it. You know, Mark mentioned the canned mackerel. I like to go to this to European stores, and almost everywhere has a European store because, But let's go there, and I like to get like they have a lot of different types of canned fish or smoked fish or just like smoked salmon. They have a bunch of different types of fish that you can just keep in your fridge and pull out. So I'll get like smoked salmon. And I'll grab different bottles of herring and different things of sliced herring, right? And
I love pickled herring. It's
pickled herring is so good. That with some raw onions. I mean, I wouldn't say that you guys should do the raw onions because that is a blow up. Like if you eat too much, like that's going to make you have a leaky asshole.
I saw the pain on your face.
Yeah, I don't regret any of it. Actually, I'm gonna do it again because it's just that good. But that's an easy way to get like some really good fishing if you're a fan of that type of taste, which I am.
That's delicious.
How do you guys prepare fish? Because I'm not a fan of it. I look at it and I'm like, okay, why would I? You know, like when I see somebody
Fish in general, even salmon.
Yeah, just all of the above. Because what it actually makes me mad when somebody will go to like a nice restaurant and they'll order fish. I'm like, hey, there's something far more superior right there. You know, you just order a steak and you're getting, you know, you're getting the Hyundai instead of getting like a Lexus over here. But okay, sure, sounds good. So how do you guys prepare it to where it, you know, again, easy and tastes good?
Just like anything else, you need practice with it. You know, you need to like cook it a couple times. When you cook it, it's going to have a certain scent to it that you might not be familiar with. It's not any different than cooking anything else. So if you cook up lamb or if you cook up liver or you cook up different types of food, different types of meat, someone's going to be like, oh, what's, you know, it's going to smell different. It doesn't smell like fucking French toast, you know?
We all know what fish smells like though. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly.
It smells like spoiled meat.
It can.
Fucking
I'm not wrong. It smells like spoiled meat. And so then how do you know if fish goes bad? Does it smell like
No. If
fish?
If the fish,
kidding.
that is true. So if the fish smells fishy, then it's bad.
touch it, it's slimy as fuck. Yeah.
Well, if you smell like meat or chicken, like, you know, if you get your nose close to like, you know, beef, it has a certain scent to it, but give it, 2-3 days, sitting in the fridge or something like that. Now you can smell it. And that's what happens a lot of times with fish is fish might degrade a little faster, especially because it might be more sensitive because it has like omega-3s in it. So the spoilage might happen faster because it'll get like impacted from heat or light negatively. So yeah, you do have to maybe pay attention to it. But I think getting smoked salmon or trying smoked stuff might be the first place to start since you don't cook it. It's already cooked. Canned stuff's not a bad place to start if you want to try to like chop up some vegetables and maybe mix it with a little bit of like olive oil or mayo or something like that. It might be a good place to try to start to fuck with it. That way you don't have to even really cook it.
But I gotta say, cooking fish is like as simple as cooking a steak in your air fryer. Like you can season it or marinate it however you want. Stick the fucking thermometer in and cook it until well. Like that's all. Some people like their fish like a little bit rare on the inside. I like it fully cooked. And if it's a little bit rare on the inside, that's fine. We eat sushi all the time, right? So, but it's like it's not difficult to make at all. And I think it's not difficult to make good either.
Right. And then so like you're saying salmon. So is that just like Costco salmon or like where do you get it from?
Yeah. Get it from Costco. Good Life has it too. Anywhere you can get fish.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, it's just like
you just don't eat fish.
My first time.
People do try to make a big deal about like wild caught versus farm or whatever. I think just whatever way you can figure out a way to get it in is a good start. But any canned fish in the United States has to be wild. So that's a decent reference point if you really do care whether it's wild or farmed, raised, or whatever. So.
And that company is Wild Planet. Right?
Yeah,
is that the one? I think that's where I'll go to first.
Yeah, salmon, mackerel. I mean, I'll just bring you. I have one in my car. I'll just give you a mackerel thing.
Okay.
Just take it out of the can, put it in a bowl, take a fork, squeeze like a little bit of like lemon on there, throw some salt and pepper on there, and I would be surprised if maybe like if you ate the whole thing at one time, you might be kind of like, But I would be shocked that if you didn't kind of enjoy at least the first couple bites. It might take you a while to get used to it over time, though.
And
but
if you don't
mackerel
like
is
it,
fucking awesome.
Yeah. If you don't like it, give it to me. I'll eat that whole thing up. Just if you don't like, give it to me. And there's another thing. Like, do you not like sardines?
No.
Shit.
But
Sardines are good for you.
Sardines are good.
But just like everything, when somebody doesn't really like explore too much, I've just never given them a legit shot.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell. Like, I have no recollection of what they even taste like. It was just, oh, sardines.
Again, this
Icky.
is shit I ate growing up. I ate so much sardines growing up, so I like sardines. I think they're great. They have a little bit of bone on inside too, and the bones are like chewy, so you can like chew the bone. It's nice.
Like crunchy or like
They can be crunchy, but usually they're just kind of
Like
they're
jer-
softer.
like a little harder jerky.
No. Most sardine bones are soft and chewy. You can chew it along with the fish. Yeah.
A good way to kind of flirt around the outside of fish too is maybe with scallops or shrimp.
Oh yeah.
Those are some decent options. Scallops are interesting because like if you overcook them and they're just like, I don't know, you're fucked. But shrimp, I think, I don't know, you must have had shrimp before.
Yeah. I remember when like Nico had his food company, he had a tray. It was just like an insane amount of shrimp, and I would just like, dude, this is really good. Like I've never eaten shrimp. I liked the texture of it.
Yeah.
I liked that it was like soft and then kind of crunchy as you bit into it, and it was really good. But outside of that, like I just never messed with shrimp.
Yeah, shrimp is amazing. At the grocery store, you can buy them with the tail off, and then I forget what the other thing is, maybe skin or something like that, or deveined they call it, which sounds disgusting. So tail off, deveined. You can buy them frozen, and those are just so easy to cook up. You just throw them in like a pan, or you throw them on your grill,
And they're just like all protein.
they're all protein. There's 0 grams of fat.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of cholesterol, but I don't think that's anything dietary cholesterol. I don't think is anything to really
That's weird.
worry too much about. I think you would worry more about the saturated fat if you're trying to pay attention to cholesterol and or ApoB.
Yeah. And that's like crab, lobster, all that stuff. Like I don't mess with any of it, but I know my wife likes it, but we just like, she's deprived of it because I don't eat any of it. So I'm like, all right, maybe we can start bringing in shrimp into the picture.
Did you guys ever use DoorDash?
No.
Because I was going to say, like, maybe from a restaurant, you probably don't go out to eat very often either, because it's probably tough with your little guy and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you use DoorDash and you order from somewhere that's kind of like a nice restaurant, ordering fish from a nice restaurant, it's usually, I mean, they almost always get the cooking of it perfect. So that might be another good thing to try.
A good gateway.
Easy.
I like fish.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's been any other drastic changes. I mean, I do spend a lot of time in front of the red light. I've been trying to do about 20 minutes of that. I've been on point with all the cold stuff, the grounding stuff. I've been doing all that.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you guys find seasonal changes? Do you, because I notice like winter months, I start to eat a bit more, which I don't mind. I know that happens every winter. And like now, what always happens as it starts to get warmer is I start to eat less food. Naturally, I don't mind it, but I just start to eat less. Does that happen with you guys? Do you guys feel like you start to eat more when it gets warmer? What?
Seems like my taste buds change a little bit when it gets warmer out. When the sun's out, I tend to want like sweeter stuff. I want more fruit and stuff like that. Want more carbs, I guess. And then in the wintertime, seems like I care a little bit less about that.
Yeah, I'm not in tuned enough to like even catch that, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually the opposite of you. When it starts to get warmer, I start to eat like less sweet, less carby type of stuff. I mean, whenever it starts getting warmer, I always start naturally eating out because I eat less, and I don't try to eat more because I know that I just feel less hungry. And maybe it's because I'm naturally getting more sun. Maybe there's a correlation there with all the things we've been learning. But I just find that interesting because that's been a trend for years now.
Just something about like the summertime, even though I won't drink it, I just like want to drink some orange juice or something like that. I want to drink like a juice or drink something like sweet, like were you drinking, like apple juice or something? Were you drinking?
Ollipops.
No, you were door dashing, I think.
I know what you guys talking about. The
Simply Lemonade.
Simply Lemonade. Yeah. That shit. That's not okay, man.
You went overboard.
That was a sugar bomb. You and your ladies had an awesome night. You got dinner, or you just came back from the gym, and it's time for that fun time. But you look down at your willy, and well, it's not working the way it should. Where's that blood flow? Well, That's where Joy Mode comes in. And I can read you these ingredients right off the bat because they're all natural ingredients: L-citrulline, arginine nitrate, Panax ginseng root, and vitamin C. The thing about Joy Mode is you just slip this baby into a little bit of water, drink it in 45 minutes later. When you're getting ready to go to the Pound Town, you will be ready to rock. And you know what I mean by rock. Joy Mode's really awesome because there's a lot of things that people promote as far as sexual wellness tools, but there's a lot of weird ingredients in there. These are all natural ingredients that's going to help your own production of blood flow. Stick it in some water. 60 minutes later, you're going to be able to stick it into something else. Joy Mode's your way to go. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at usejoymode.com/powerproject. And at checkout, enter promo code POWERPROJECT to save 20% off your entire order. Again, usejoymode.com/powerproject, promo code POWERPROJECT, links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
I do actually, let me mention this though, because I think we kind of glazed over caffeine a little bit. And now like it seems, oh, by the way, why did she start going decaf? Was she going decaf before you or after you?
She just doesn't care.
Oh, what?
She can just have she can have coffee and go to bed. So she's just like, well, why have it? Mm-hmm. But then she did notice though, she actually said, so she bought decaf because I just asked her to. And so she bought some. Mm-hmm. But then she said that by the second or third day, she didn't feel that good a couple times. And she's like, I don't even know if I ever get the positives of coffee. She's like, I can't ever say I ever felt it get me hyped up. She's like, but I was addicted to it. And it's just now that I'm not having the caffeine, I'm just getting the negative side effects of not having the caffeine. I was like, damn. But she's good now. That was a while ago.
Yeah, that shit takes a while. But that's what I was going to say, because I'm someone who I still am self-admitted, I love coffee. I really, really do. And I remember when we were doing I don't know, what was it? November?
Back, yeah.
Sober October.
Sober October, right? We were all giving up coffee and I was the first one to cave, to start drinking coffee again, right? I like coffee. But the benefits after taking coffee out or really minimizing it has been pretty wild. Same shit that happened to Andrew. Energy is just so much better. My thinking so much clearer. I don't feel like I have a drop at any point during the day. And I haven't felt like that in a long time. I felt like I needed caffeine. So for those of you who are, again, I know there's so much research to back up the benefits of caffeine, and there's not like we're telling you to never drink caffeine again, but get control over it. If you feel like you love it and you have it every day, and I get it, if you don't want to give it up, I'm not telling you have to, but maybe see if it can be something that you control how it makes you feel rather than feeling that you need it, right? I think that's at least for me, it's a much better place to be, where it feels like a tool I can pull out. Everything we talk about, these are all tools that we can use. Caffeine's one of those tools, right? Versus I must have it every single day or I'm going to have a bad day.
I think cutting back on your caffeine, is something everyone should give a try to. I think most people probably consume too much of it. I think a lot of people have issues with their sleep and they're like, well, I only have it in the morning. Well, it could still have an impact. I mean, supposedly it sits around in your body for 12 hours or something is the half-life from my understanding of it. So it's that seems like a long time. And what if you're a person that just takes longer to, maybe it takes you 16 hours. So maybe it is negatively impacting your sleep. And then also maybe there's caffeine in a lot of stuff that you're just not really thinking of.
Yeah.
It's in a lot of stuff.
It's in a lot.
It's in a lot. I mean, it's in stuff that sometimes you might even get a hydration packet. You're like, I'm going to try this hydration. And then you look at the small print on there and it's oh, fuck, that has caffeine in it too.
Different forms of chocolate.
Yeah. It's
didn't realize.
Yeah, it's in all kinds of stuff. So, just try to pay attention to it, be mindful of it. And then you might discover that you're going to get more out of it when you resume going back to it or when you want to utilize it as a strategy. That's originally probably why you started to use it in the first place. I remember as a kid, I never understood coffee. I didn't understand why adults are drinking coffee. It just smells bad. And
bitter water, what?
Yeah, it tastes gross, But then over time, you just get addicted to it. Next thing you know, you're drinking it and you need it every day.
Yeah. Yeah, my suggestion has always been hey, can you, I'm not saying get rid of it, but can you stop drinking it after, I know our goal is around 10, 11, but can you stop drinking it by the time you're done eating lunch? right? Like have no more the rest of the day. Because I know most people, they'll get that slump in the middle of their work day. And it's like, time to go re-up just to finish the last 3 hours of my work day. It's like, but exactly what you said, like the half-life, I don't know what happens after the half-life is over. Is there a quarter life? Is there, an eighth life? Like, does that still keep going? That's shit that I don't understand, that somebody's like, probably like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, it's not how it works. But like, we're not all the exact same. So to say that, oh yeah, the caffeine has a 12-hour half-life, like exactly like you said, Mark, that we don't know what happens, because I know for sure I can drink an entire pot of coffee and go right to sleep. I pass out instantly. Does that mean that my sleep is as best as it could be? Is it being compromised? I'm pretty sure it is. My heart rate's probably way higher. I'm not getting the recovery.
Right.
So why not try to optimize that sleep? Because that's the thing that's going to help that caffeine work a lot better, versus like, no, I'm just going to keep smashing my face with coffee all day long. And it's just so wild just thinking about how like coffee has infiltrated and just taken over every adult, right? Nobody goes anywhere without coffee. You look at the lines at the airport. It's the first thing that's like fucking through the whole entire airport is somebody trying to get, or people trying to get stuff at Starbucks. And it's just really interesting, like the grasp that it has on us now.
And no one thinks there's anything, like it just seems normal, and there's like no downside, according
Countless
to
papers.
Like society, right? and the research. And I would just say, like,
Big coffee.
just try to give yourself a chance, give yourself a shot. Like, rather than just sitting there and you're at work and you're like, oh man, I got to go work out after this. And it's like 5 o'clock. And then by the time you get to the gym, it's like going to be 6 p.m. And you're just like trying to debate whether you should go or not. You're like, I'm going to have some pre-workout. It's just interesting. Like, why have the pre-workout? Like, you're having the pre-workout as if you're already defeated, as if you already don't have the energy, and you might not feel great. But we all know for sure, 100%, once you start to move around, you're going to feel better than you feel right now. And you're going to feel fucking better than anything that the pre-workout can do for you. So just start to move around. And if after 5-6 minutes and you did a couple warm-up sets and stuff, and you're like, man, I'm still beat to hell, well, then maybe you do need the pre-workout on that particular day. But I think just push all that shit off as much as you can and see what you can do, see what you can muster up on your own.
And I got to say, 2 things. If you love kombucha, look at it, because there's quite a few kombuchas that have caffeine and you don't even realize it. There's a really popular brand, whatever. But there's
I like all that shit.
Whatever. There's a really popular brand, but like when you look at the thing, it has caffeine in it. And there was a point where I was drinking kombucha at night and I didn't even realize that kombucha had caffeine. Yeah. That's first. Secondly, if you are, again, if you're someone who's now, you're like, okay, I'm gonna try this no caffeine thing for a little bit. Get ready for those withdrawals. Hits everybody differently, but my withdrawals were fucking shitty. Shitty. For like 8 days, I was dragging. Like my motivation was kind of tanked, because when I was drinking coffee before, I always had the feeling of, after I'd have my cup of coffee, the world was my fucking bitch. That's how I felt on the inside right after I had that cup. I'm like, ready to go podcast, ready to go learn. But without it, I was like, what am I without it? Like, what
does this mean?
Well, and that for me was a sign. I was like, fuck, I have an issue. Because the thing that actually made me really think hard about it was, I wasn't someone having like 500 milligrams a day. I was, how much we pay attention to this shit. I was making sure I was having at most maybe 200 milligrams, maybe 200, usually like 150 or something. And without that, I felt like I couldn't do shit. How much of a bitch am I? Maybe I am just a bitch. But those withdrawals were really bad. But after those 8 days, right, I started to feel normal and good and self-motivated without it. I was like, okay, shit, wow. So I'm not just a little bitch. Like, I can do this without it. And now it's a tool. Now, like, if I do get a really bad night of sleep and I come and I'm feeling a bit tired, I can use it as a quick boost. And it really hits hard because I don't have it chronically every single day. So that's the thing. You give yourself time to get through those withdrawals. Some people, there's like different strategies that people use in terms of like slowly tapering down their intake to 0. Like instead of doing their normal, they'll do half, and then they'll do half of that, and then they'll do decaf for a little bit, and then they'll go a week without it at all. You can do that too. I just went cold turkey. It's up to you, but just kind of be ready. Some of you might not feel any type of difference, but some of you might have pretty rough withdrawals, and you just need to wait that bitch out.
Yeah, withdrawals for me were insane headaches.
Oh, you had headaches?
I had the worst headaches. I was like, dude, and it was never ending. It was just like all day long, I have a headache. Like, this is terrible. And then I started slurring my words on the podcast. I was like, it made me like permanently hungover, where I was just tired all the time and just hating life.
Dude, isn't this shit weird? Like, again, like, who's the guy from Bulletproof Coffee? You remember we had
Dave Asprey.
Dave Asprey. Dave Asprey came on the pod years ago. He was like, "You're stupid if you don't like caffeine, blah, 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 it's dumb." But like, it's really odd that if I don't have this dark drink, I turn into mush.
Yeah.
That's weird. We can't say that's normal. That's not normal.
It's not. No, but with like more recently though, like you've been having green tea, and that has a little bit of caffeine. So like I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying like, oh, like you didn't actually go cold turkey, but yeah, you use it as a tool.
Yeah.
So you use it like every other day.
Yeah, like most days I don't have caffeinated tea. So like I can't remember, maybe last week I had it once, but it's not like I'm holding myself back from it. But I just don't want to be in the habit of having caffeine every day. That's the only goal I have. I want to be able to have some days where I don't have caffeine and I want to feel fine. So that when I do use caffeine, I know like it's going to give me a little bit of a boost. So that's the main reason. So you can have green tea every day. I don't think that's a problem. Just for me, I want to be able to navigate without it because I don't want to get back to the point where I need it every single day. That's not a good place for me to be personally.
I got to be careful with green tea. It makes me pee a lot.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's good and bad, but yeah, I just got to be careful.
Yeah, I like tea. I think like anything that's hot, can be a little bit of an appetite suppressant too. So I think that people think that caffeine's a great appetite suppressant, and maybe it is, but I just think having stuff that's like warm or hot can be pretty good appetite suppressant as well.
Yeah, I have so many boxes of tea at home now, like so many different types of tea to pull from that are like non-caffeinated, some caffeinated. And it hits the spot. That warm thing in your mouth in the morning is just,
hey now.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah, I got some pretty fancy tea that Mike Dolce recommended because it doesn't have like any like, it's not the packaging, like the little tea bags don't have any like anything. It's just like all natural or whatever the fuck you want to call it. No harmfulness. But what I wanted to ask you guys, are you still essentially intermittent fasting, or are you eating more meals on a regular basis?
I just like fast like through the middle of the day most of the time. And then there's also just, I think we've gotten to a point in this country where people just eat so much that whenever we don't eat, we call it fasting, or we call it intermittent fasting. And so I have like 3 or 4 meals a day usually. And sometimes I might not eat like a real full meal until 12 or 2. But for the most part, I usually have breakfast, and then I will eat around 3 or 4, and then I'll eat around 5 or 6, and then that's it for the day usually.
Yeah. Some days it's 1 meal. Most days it's 2 meals. And rarely it's like 1 small meal and 2 good meals. But I'll still do 1 meal on certain days when I just don't feel like I need to eat that much food. I think that's like, it's a good thing like that. We're able to kind of vary that. You know what I mean? 1 meal a day doesn't bother me. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't fuck with my performance. It's just some days where I'm just like, I don't need to eat that much today. I'll just eat 1 good big meal, protein rich, call it a day. So yeah, I think that's kind of how like the way I use fasting is going to be. I'm going to spruce it in where I need it, use it as a tool just like everything else.
I think fasting is a really interesting thing because there's a couple things you can do if you really struggle with your diet and you really struggle with your hunger and your cravings and stuff. And one thing you can do is you could eat frequently. You could spread everything out throughout the day, and but a lot of times that's inconvenient. And so if it's not inconvenient for you and you're able to do that, then that might be a great strategy. But if it feels like it's inconvenient and it's hard for you to follow, like you're like, man, I can't even follow a diet for very long. It's like, well, maybe you can't follow the diet because maybe it's just annoying and it's hard for you to prepare all these meals all the time. And so if you just subtract out a lot of meals, maybe that subtracts out a lot of confusion. Maybe it's like okay, what's my meal prep? It's like, okay, I have some water with me, and maybe I got some amino acids, or maybe I have like a protein powder or something with me in case I do actually get like super hungry, or whatever the case may be. Like, you don't want to break down muscle or whatever you might be super worried or concerned about. But fasting is an amazing strategy. And the way that I look at it is it's almost like you're trying to burn off. Like, let's just say that currently you have X amount of hunger every single day. Well, now you're just trying to take a little lighter to it. Mm-hmm. It's like you're just you're lighting off the little fringe ends of it, and you're trying to make your hunger something that's smoother and something that's easier to control. Mm-hmm. And at the moment, sometimes for people, it's a very hard thing to control. So you can control it by eating frequently, or you can control it by eating infrequently. There's so much research that shows that you're going to be hungry with or without food. So you might eat at 8 a.m. and then be hungry at 12, but you're going to be hungry at 12, whether you ate at 8 a.m. or not. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're even hungrier. It depends on the person, depends on the types of foods. If you're somebody that really likes to eat carbohydrate-rich food, sometimes you might be even hungrier. You might notice if you had a carb-rich meal in the morning, you may be hungrier later on. Whereas if you had fats and proteins first thing in the morning, you might be less hungry in the middle of the day. So kind of, you got to pick your poison with all these things. And ultimately you'll have to figure out a way to kind of manage your energy. But another way to kind of stuff back some of your hunger is to just eat a fuck ton of protein. Mm-hmm. Just try to really eat a lot of protein. And you want to try to have lean protein, because if it's accompanied by a lot of fat, now you're just going to get into having probably too many calories.
A constant thing that's been beneficial for all of our health has been intaking enough protein, but also intaking quality protein. And that's why we've been partnering with Good Life Proteins for years now. Good Life not only sells Piedmontese beef, which is our favorite beef, and the main reason why it's our favorite is because they have cuts of meat that have higher fat content, like their ribeyes and their chuck eyes, but they also have cuts of meat like their flat iron. Andrew, what's the macros on the flat iron?
Yeah, dude. So the flat iron has 23 grams of protein, only 2 grams of fat. But check this out. Their grass-fed sirloin essentially has no fat and 27 grams of protein.
There we go. So whether you're dieting and you want lower fat cuts or higher fat cuts, that's there. But you can also get yourself chicken. You can get yourself fish. You can get yourself scallops. You can get yourself all types of different meats. And I really suggest going to Good Life and venturing in and maybe playing around with your proteins. I mean, going back to the red meat, there's picanha.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Chorizo sausage. There's maple bacon.
That stuff's incredible.
The maple bacon is so good.
Maple bacon's really good.
Yo, my girl put those in these bell peppers with a steak and chicken. And oh my God, it was so good. But either way, guys, protein is essential. And the Good Life is the place where you can get all of your high quality proteins. So Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, you can head over to goodlifeproteins.com and enter promo code POWERPROJECT to save 20% off your entire order. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes. I really like how Russell Buddy put it. He was like, appetite, he's like, that's up here, that's in my head. And that kind of never stops. He's like, but hunger, he's like, that's down here in my stomach. He's like, that comes in waves. He's like, it'll come strong sometimes and other times not so much, but I know that it's going to end up coming no matter what. Mm-hmm. So he's like, he had to make that distinction. And that's very important for people to understand. Like, I think we all, like, if there were some Oreos on the table, regardless of what we plan on doing today, regardless of how hungry we are right now, we're all going to just be staring at it, waiting for the first person to take a cookie. So that way
That'd be me.
So that way we can all be like, oh yeah, me too. And we just like all, kind of buddy up like that. Yeah. But like for me, 2 meals a day was working really well for a long time. But I would I'd get to the studio and I'd get out of my car like, all right, here we go. Cause like I would be tired from jiu-jitsu, but I'd also be very full from 10 eggs because that 10 eggs was going to fuel me for the rest of the day. So I'm trying to have smaller meals, but just more frequently. So I'm going to go from like 2 meals a day to somewhere between 3 and 4 meals, like legit meals, but
I know
a legit meal could be, a thing of like good culture, cottage cheese and some honey and maybe some peanut butter because it tastes really good. Whereas before I wasn't having that. And then same thing with like fruit in the middle of the day. Like I might have like more of it. Before I would have a little bit here and there inconsistently, but I think making it like a point to like, I need to have that like in betweener.
I think you're going to find a lot of benefit for this, just because like those smaller meals they're going to be easier on your digestive system. You know, for you, I think they're going to be easier. By the way, what I sent you was 2020 to 2024.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so that's the difference in her pictures there.
You want to pull this up on screen?
Actually, yeah, you could pull it up. But I was laughing because it's like when I was bodybuilding, I was eating like 5 or 6 meals, but you're kind of doing what I was doing back in the day. But anyway, this is interesting. This was Sam at her show March in 2020, and then that was the Arnold in 2024.
Hey now.
Yo, like the muscle development, like she's had some gains, bro.
Shoulders.
And that's what I was talking about with the structure. Like she has a pro level structure. I'm so proud of her. But yeah.
We're all proud of her. Good job, Sam.
Good job, Sam.
You fucking rock.
Yeah. What I was going to mention though too was the hunger thing that you guys were talking about. I still don't think, because I know a lot of people, when talking about dieting, it is important to be careful about how hungry you let yourself get, because if you let yourself get too hungry, then you can end up eating way too much to compensate for that hunger. And that's just not a good cycle to be in, feeling super hungry, then binging, then feeling super hungry and binging. But it's just like, I think it's probably beneficial to get a handle on caffeine and how you feel with and without it, so that you can go without it. I think it's a good idea to familiarize yourself and be okay emotionally with being a little bit hungry, and then in response to that hunger, eating normal amounts of food rather than binging on food. Because if you can get control over that over years, then that's going to be something beneficial. Initially, it's going to feel super uncomfortable, and you might have a tendency to overeat here and there from feeling hungry. But over time, that's why I still do think of fasting as a great practice in the long run. And if you could fit it into your life, because if you can familiarize yourself with hunger and control your responses to that hunger, so you're not eating excessive amounts of food and so that hunger doesn't bother you, that's a very powerful thing. Then diets don't really pull on you too much, because on diets, if you're getting ready for a show, or you're doing a short diet for a while to get ready for something, it's not going to kill you, because hunger isn't something that's destroying you. You'll have coping mechanisms that are healthier than eating an excessive amount of food.
I think I did some math one time, which is probably not a good idea.
Uh-oh.
But it was just once. And what I came up with is that if you fast every day for 16 hours, it ends up being a week's worth of not eating, which is like really interesting. And my math could be off. I can't remember if that's the exact thing that it came out to be, but it's just really fascinating, right? Like if you just don't eat, and all we're talking about, I think there's 16/8 and there's all these different fasting protocols. I think don't worry about a lot of that stuff. I don't think you need to have a clock and you need to have an app and you need to really be super concerned with it. Again, if you're newer and you've had trouble in the past, maybe you need real strict rules for the beginning. Maybe your rules have to be black and white. But I think in general, what we're talking about is just not eating for a few waking hours. It's really not that big a deal. So if you have a good practice of not eating anything an hour or two before bed, let's say 2 hours before bed, and then you don't eat anything for the first 2 hours of the day, and you slept for 8 hours, well, now we're doing pretty good. Like we're at 12 hours already? So that's a very healthy practice, and that's very normal for a lot of people. If that's already normal for you, then you're going to want to probably try to extend that out a little bit longer. But if that's normal for you, it shouldn't be difficult for you to snip 2 more hours in, either on the back end or the front end, or to put 4 hours somewhere for you to get to that 16-hour range. Again, there's not a lot of evidence that fasting per se is like some magical thing, but it usually does help people with regulating the overall amount of energy that they're consuming. So it's been really effective for pretty much anyone I've ever had try it.
Give it a legitimate shot.
Yeah. There's cases where people have come off it, gone back to it, and like with Russell, Russell has utilized intermittent fasting a bunch. Sometimes he likes it, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes we talk about it and we'll say, hey, let's just hold off on the fasting for now. Like it's not a big deal. Like you recently lost 100 pounds. Like it's okay if we park here for a minute. And then we're going to go down 120 and 140 and so on. So it's going to take some time. And that's another thing is that like when it comes to when you're trying to lose weight, I think that you should always lose weight in stages. I think you should gain weight in stages. I think all these things should take time. And the pictures of Sam that you just pulled up, it takes a long time. I mean, the difference from the left picture to the right picture to an untrained eye or untrained person might not look like that big of a deal. But that is a big deal because the amount of muscle mass that she put on. All this stuff takes a really, really long time. So just understand the whole process is going to take a long ass time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, fasting really, really helped with my gas station taste buds. You know, because when you're kind of snacking on a bunch of stuff throughout the day, you know, you kind of want to level up every single time you eat something, right? If you eat a bag of Doritos, then you know, good food is now no longer appealing because your taste buds are kind of shot. But if you fast through the day and you don't have those tiny little snacks and you get legit hunger, right? Like it's time to eat. You are hungry. You're ready to eat, and you know you're ready because now that steak looks incredible. That steak and the rice, or the steak and the potato that's not full of a shit ton of butter and all the extra things. Like, no, just regular rice looks so good right now.
Yeah.
That stuff really, really helped me. And I wish I had discovered fasting much earlier, because I could have been able to like half the time that it's taken me to like get a healthier body because of all the shitty things I used to eat. Because I didn't want to eat healthy stuff because it wasn't appealing. But when you stop eating, all of a sudden now it's like, well, shit, dude, that chicken actually looks incredible. Like, I can't wait to dive into that.
Yeah.
So it really, really helped with those, like what Mark calls gas station taste buds, which is perfectly said, because I used to eat at gas stations a lot.
Natural foods are so good, you know, and I think we lose sight of it when we have interruption of eating Doritos and Fritos and all these different things. I think today is International Snack Day, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I saw it on Today's Show this morning.
Let's close up shop and
I think
go
they
to the store.
said the number one snack was
Oreos.
Doritos.
a Rice Krispie treat.
Those are fucking good.
Really?
And
I
then-
didn't see that one coming.
I know.
Wow.
And then behind that, you had not Doritos,
Pringles?
Cheetos, I think it was.
Hot Cheetos? Or just Cheetos?
Yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe you can look it up, Andrew.
There's the internet.
I think it was Cheetos.
All right, but let me put you guys on game for something for snack, right? Because I know we talk about like, okay, it's not good to snack, and for like, honestly, be careful with something like this. But you ever had those Quest chips?
I have.
Okay, so
All right, what are we doing?
I got some Quest chips, right? The hot
Some
ones.
cheese or something?
No, actually, that's a fucking good idea. You mentioned it. But the ranch flavor is really good, and the hot flavor is really good. So I've put those in a bowl, and then Costco has like these small guacamole packs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I love those.
So I'll take 2 of those, and
It's
then
getting exciting.
I mean, it could probably be more fun if I got some cheese on it and shit. But you just take one of those and you just dip it in the guac and eat it. Like, it is a protein-rich chip, and you have guac. It's actually pretty healthy for like a bro snack.
Yeah.
It's better than fucking pulling out some Doritos and shit. But
Yeah.
it's fucking good.
Dude, those guac cups are legit. It's not like so it's not even guac. It's just like avocado cups. Like, it's just
It's not guac?
So maybe they have 2 different ones, but they have one that is just an avocado. Like,
They used to have that
smashed.
at Starbucks. Is it that same thing?
I think so. And what's great is, that's again, I forgot about this, but I include that in my breakfast also.
Yeah.
So I have eggs,
Secret.
egg whites, a avocado cup, and sprouted bread. I have Ezekiel bread now. I'm not messing with the sourdough bread. Yeah. And that's been interesting, just learning about sprouted bread, how like Ezekiel bread is just like majority protein. Like, obviously carbs, but like it's very low on the glycemic index. I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly, but
did.
whatever the case, it's a legit thing. And I know it's not the best tasting, but that's another thing that's changed with cutting out artificial sweeteners.
You can taste everything.
Everything's tasting way better. It's incredible. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So like something like sprouted bread, where before like I would
Sprouted bread.
sprouted bread would not be so appealing. Now I'm like, let's get this fucking bread. It's
We're
really
having
good.
some Bible bread, Ezekiel bread.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's very expensive, and they started making the packages smaller though.
When's the last time you guys had any alcohol?
Fuck.
With you guys?
It's been a minute. I know I've had some wine like the past 4 months, but it's been a while. I like wine too. It's just she doesn't drink. I really don't drink. So
The hard ketones, if that counts.
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that. Why do you ask?
Oh, I haven't had a drink since like, I don't know, sometime in December.
Oh shit!
And my wife stopped drinking, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she dropped out of the game. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I know
I
she
don't know,
likes
she
her
just
wife.
said it's time for a change. And so she said, "Fuck it."
Savage.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah, she told me, she's like, I don't know, one day I came home from work and she's like, oh, I'm going to stop. She's like, I'm going to stop drinking next month. I was like, oh, cool. She just goes, no, I mean forever. And I was like,
Forever?
damn. Like, she doesn't mess around. So I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
You knew
Okay.
she was.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
But we got some substitutes. So we're doing some LSD and some Coke and some other stuff like that to keep our mind off of that. You know what
Just
I mean?
a good healthy dose.
No, we actually have been kind of messing around with some kava. I
Okay.
told you guys a little bit about kava
I still
before.
need to buy it.
I gotta bring my boy in, but yeah.
So
okay.
we have a little bit of that here and there. I usually have one like every night. It's just like, I don't know, something to soothe you, calm you down.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been cool.
What was
Like,
the one you told me to buy? I'm gonna get it.
I think it's called True Kava, I think.
TRU.
Kava, unlike Kratom, with Kava, I think it's okay to try to find like a powder, because you do want like a decent dosage, in my opinion. But a lot of the drinks, I think they start out around maybe 500 milligrams. I think you get into like a gram or 2 grams or so of Kava. Like, I'm just throwing out random numbers. I probably shouldn't. Do that.
Wait, actually,
But I think like, you know, I think it's from my experience anyway, it seems like you need like a good dosage of it. But just like with anything else, there's extracts and stuff like that too. So pay attention, because an extract will be just like the straight product itself, and it'll be way stronger. So for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a shot. I remember I went to this Asha spot, and the girl behind the counter, she's like, "Yeah, I had kava today," and she was like, "Oh, I'm feeling so." I was like, "Oh, kava could guess you like that?" She's
Wow.
like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, okay."
It's kind of gross. Like, you know, if you ever, like, there's kava shops, kava stores, like you can go into, like, it's like a coffee shop kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
They have one in Davis.
I might stop there before I go home, actually.
And your tongue is just like,
it numbs your tongue.
it's weird. Yeah, we should go have some. I'll have some with you.
Yeah. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
stop. Yeah, I'll stop by there before I go home.
So-
Is it okay to have with driving?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it helps a lot with accidents. Great. I'm kidding,
You're
I'm kidding.
joking. Okay.
Kidding.
For those of you who
My
don't know
bad.
what kava
So I
Oh,
wanted
I
to
like
pull
that
this up.
vibe.
Yeah. No, this is my buddy. He actually makes and sells it, but
Oh,
like
cool.
he like is legit with it. Like he will just
Shit.
get the root and just like serve it up, and it's dude, it's yeah, he'll add some stuff to it, but like he like stirs it up out of like he serves it in like an actual like coconut thing, and it's good. I can bring you guys some of his.
Please do.
Yeah, it's
You have a good dose of fentanyl in there too?
no, unfortunately,
Damn.
it's not that good. But see what I mean?
Sure.
Like he'll like it's legit, dude. So it's kind of like a cool thing because it's like a ritual thing. And once I dug into that, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of a hippie, so I'm in.
The godfather of the ketogenic diet, Dom D'Agostino, and one of the top educators in YouTube nutrition, Thomas DeLauer. We did a podcast with both of them recently, and you'll dig it. Learned a lot about different diets and what you should know. So click it and check it out.